In this video today, I'm going to show you what I wish I would have known about making and exchanging friendship bracelets for the Taylor Swift Eras Tour before I went. And we're going to go over how to make a bracelet too, so that way you guys can be prepared for when you go to the Eras Tour, or if you just want to make a friendship bracelet. I went to two Eras tours. I went to one at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and the other one I went to was at MetLife, and that's kind of in the New Jersey, New York City area. It's the New York Giants Stadium, but they call it's in New Jersey, so I don't know. It's both, I guess, but it was really fun to go to both concerts. I definitely traded more bracelets at MetLife than I traded in Las Vegas, and I think the reason why is because Las Vegas was the second stop on the tour and MetLife was further on in the tour. I think that's the reason why I didn't see anyone trading at Allegiant Stadium, but they could have been. I just maybe didn't see it. And I kept my bracelets in a bag in Allegiant Stadium, and at MetLife, I found out that you need to put them on your wrists so that way everyone can see your bracelets and see that you want to trade. That's kind of like the indicator that says, hey, I want to trade bracelets at the tour today. That is the key at the tour. On one wrist, you put bracelets that you want to trade, and on the other wrist, you put bracelets that you don't want to trade. Now, this can be a little bit tricky because the bracelets can be really tight. So mine didn't stay on the whole time just because I took a few off that were especially tight. But for the most part, it was fun. And by the end of the night, one of my wrists was empty because I had traded everything I wanted to, and I had all new bracelets than when I started with. Let's get into how to make these bracelets, because there's a few different ways that you can make the bracelets. For me, I started making these bracelets like the week before I went to the tour, which was not a good idea. And I ended up actually making the bracelets the day of, both times for the concert. And I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend making them at least 2 or 3 days before so you can travel to wherever you're going and not have to worry about making bracelets. I mean, if you're meeting up friends, it's kind of a fun thing to do. But I would just do that as an extra. I would have all the bracelets that I want for the tour already made because it'll just save time. And you won't be spending your morning making bracelets. You can tour the city that you're in, because we were in New York City and I spent till 11 making bracelets when we could have left the hotel at like 8 and gone and seen more of the city. Where to buy all the supplies for these? Because I'm a procrastinator and I waited the week before the show, I had to buy my supplies at stores that were local. And I looked at Michael's and I looked at Target, and they both had kits. I had no clue what to buy, and I just walked in Michael's like a deer in the headlights. And I was like, oh, there was a kit that had like A, B, C, D, E, F, G all separated. And I almost wish I would have gotten that because I feel like it would have saved me a lot of time in the long run when I was putting the words together. But I just bought some random kits at Target. I bought a random kit. I feel like the one I bought at Target didn't have as many beads. It had a lot of letters, but not a lot of beads. So what I did at Michael's is I bought the letters and the beads separately so I could choose how many letters I had. Now, if you have time before your tour, I would recommend getting the beads on Amazon, because then you can choose what you want. It's a little bit more customizable and you won't be running from store to store. You can just look online and it'll save you time. There are a few different beads that you can use for the bracelets, and they both have their pros and cons. You can use clay beads, and those are actually my favorite beads. I didn't have any for the bracelets I made, but I got a lot at the tour with these. They're very small, very thin beads. They do take a lot of time to put together. I put one together and I was just kind of like rushing and trying to put it together, but it did take me significantly longer than the other beads. Now there's other beads that come in different sizes, they're clear, sparkly, light, dark. These are just your regular beads. They can come small, big, pearlescent. The pearlescent were some of the favorites that I had when I gave these to people at the tour. You could also have round beads. You can have like kind of square beads. There's all these different type of beads that you can have for these bracelets, and glass beads. So pick your beads. You can mix and match all the beads. That's fine to do also. There are a couple ways to store the beads, and I would make sure that you kind of keep some separation with the beads. So if you have clay beads, these glass beads, make sure you're not throwing them all into one bag, because then it can take forever to find the right beads. I used bags because like I said, I bought these at Michael's and Target, and I did not have time to go get a nice case for them and to separate them all. But if you do have time, or if you have one of these cases, I would highly recommend it. If not, just do what I did with the bags, but keep kind of the beads separate, so that way when you're going to make a certain color palette, you don't have to hunt. It'll just speed up the process. And if you have the little containers that separate them all, that'll make them even faster. What supplies are you going to need to make these bracelets? There's some very good supplies to have that will make it easier, your life easier. For one, get a stretchy cord string. I cannot emphasize this one enough. And don't make it too stretchy, because if it's not stretchy enough, it'll be very difficult to put the bracelet on. And I found this out. There's a few that I'm going to replace that were not stretchy at all, because it's hard for me to put the bracelets on my wrist. Next, make sure it's not too stretchy, because there's a few that I feel like are going to fall apart, and I don't want to be wearing this bracelet and all of a sudden they fall apart. So make sure your cord is a good stretch. The next supply is scissors, and then you need your beads. We already talked about the different type of beads. You can get tweezers. You can have tape, so you can tape the ends of the string when it gets a little frayed and use it like a needle. And I also saw this at tour. Some people had carabiners. Why would you use a carabiner? You can put your bracelets, your completed bracelets, on these carabiners, and then you don't have to have them on your wrist, because the bracelets can get tight on your wrist. And then the last thing that you can have is some glue. You can, after you tie the bracelet together, you can dab a little glue on there so they're less likely to fall apart. And we had some fall apart. So this is a very important step right there. Either tie it really well or get some glue. Let's get into the design of the bracelet. Every bracelet, for the most part, had a word or a phrase on it, or an abbreviation. And then it had beads, and lots of, a color coordinated beads. You could do rainbow, you could do browns, you could do yellows, you can do oranges, reds, a combination of the two. You could do, in color theory, I have a whole video about this, but you could do complementary colors, which are opposite on the color wheel, or colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. Usually it look pretty good. That's kind of the secret to making these bracelets. So for one of the bracelets I did, it was blue, purple, and pink. And those are all adjacent to each other on the color wheel, and I made sure that they were all pastel. You could switch it up and have not one pastel and the other pastel, but as long as it's a pattern and it's consistency, and you don't have just one sticking out, then you should be fine, and it'll look really pretty. Now, every bracelet had some words on it. You can do song titles, which is what I did a lot of, because as I said before, I was making these like last minute. So I was like, and I was, Googling song titles for Taylor Swift, and I started to run out of E's, T's, S's, and Y's. And so I had to come up with song titles, usually abbreviations. You can abbreviate the song titles as long as they're more than one word. And I was like, okay, King of My Heart, Hoax, Ivy. Ivy still had a Y in it, but there were some, like, So It Goes. I would make those because I was starting to run out of letters. You can do like Swiftie inside jokes, and some of those are like the names of her cats, her mom and dad. You could do No, It's Becky, Taylor King, Tea Time, Hi, It's Me. You can also do lyrics from the songs. You can do dibbles. I had one that said facts. You can write the Eras Tour, I love TS, T-Swizzle. You get the point. I have a cheat sheet for you guys that has like 200 or 300 ideas in it. So you can download this or print it off, and you can have your own cheat sheet, and you won't get stuck like I did and be like in a hotel room, okay, what can I do? You can personalize it more to you. Like you can say, I really like that phrase, and use that one a lot instead of just trying to come up with things on the fly. What I recommend when you do that is you're going to take a bead and put it on the end. Get all your words and phrases and abbreviations out first, and then put a bead in the middle. You're also going to want to make sure those letters are facing the same direction, because when you go later to take those off, maybe you'll forget what SIG means. That meant so it goes. You'll be like, GIS, what song is that? So then you can put the words in the right order. But if you do all of the beads first with the letters take the most time finding all those phrases. And what you can also do, I had 3 different type of beads. So I was able to do like So It Goes 3 times, Karma 3 times, and 3 different letter sets. And that way I kind of spaced evenly all the letters I was using. Because after I did Karma 3 times, of course I ran out of A's. And if I tried to do it all in the same letter set, maybe I would run out of that A. But if I spread it out over the 3 letter sets, then you can have hopefully all of the letters that you need. And then after I did that, I did like 2 or 3 strands of these. I would tie a bead at the end, and then I would be able to use that when I was making the actual bracelets. And you're going to want to make sure you put a bead in the middle. So if you do So It Goes and then Bad Blood, or So It Goes and then BB, so you won't have SIGBB, and you're like, what does that mean? But if you have the bead in the middle, you'll know that those are 2 separate bracelets. I will say that that was one of the hardest things for me. It took the most time, was finding all those titles. So you are going to have a leg up if you download what I have created for you. Now to actually make the bracelet. First, you're going to want to make bracelets in different sizes, because there's going to be different people there. I gave some of my bracelets to kids. I gave them to adults, all sorts of sizes of wrist. So make sure that you make different sizes for different sizes of people. I kind of made a lot my wrist size because I feel like it would be average, but then make some smaller and make some bigger. When making the bracelet, what I did is I took a piece of string, I measured my wrist and made it a little bit longer, and then I cut it. I tied 1 bead to the end. It doesn't have to be a bead that you're using, but it can be. And then I started my pattern or my color palette. So like Lover, I did light pink, dark pink, and white. I did How You Get the Girl with clear beads. Purple, I think gray, black, and another purple. I did the King of My Heart one with like a patterned yellow, clay bead, yellow, and green. And then I put King of My Heart on it. I forgot that you existed. I did the blue, pink, and purple, and then I put a bead in the middle of each abbreviation. You can do so many different variations, and there's so many cute ones that I got from the people when I exchanged all the bracelets. After you finish putting on all your beads, you're going to take that bead off of the end, and then you're going to tie it. I tied it like 3 times. That's when you can put the glue in, and you can also tuck the strings under. Most of the time when I got bracelets, the ends were just kind of loose on most people. They weren't cut down or tucked in or anything. So you don't have to do anything special with the ends if you don't want to, because that, for the most part, people didn't do that. Some of the problems that you might have are like maybe you did the letter wrong, or you forgot the letter, or you put the wrong bead color in. So you can easily take the bracelet apart, and sometimes I had to do that a few times. I'm like, oops, I made a mistake. I will say if you make mistakes, the bead ones are easier. And if you do make a mistake and you've already taken the bead off the end, make sure to put the bead back on, because I didn't always do that. And then you end up having to do both ends because the beads fall off. If your string gets frayed, I would recommend cutting it off or putting the piece of tape on there, and so it can act like a needle. Make sure that your string is not too big. Also, because I had the cutest letters and then I went to put the string in and the letters wouldn't go on. So I did not make sure my string is big enough. So hopefully I can use those beads in the future because they were really cute. The clay beads also came with tweezers. You can use those. I didn't really, but some people might want to use tweezers, especially if they're beads that are hard to get to at the end. Make sure that you tie it really good or glue it, because we did have some bracelets that came apart, and I got one from someone that did come apart. We were in the parking lot when it came apart, and everyone else was like super nice, and they helped us gather up all the words for Bad Blood. I can't remember the other one, but I was able to actually make them later because I met 2 people at the Z100 line, and I didn't have any bracelets to give away, so I hurried up and made my bracelets that had fallen apart that I'd put back in a bag, and then I gave it to them, and they were super grateful for them. And the one that you see here, we did find the letter that was missing, so she ended up with a full bracelet. And then when you're done with the bracelets, so for me, I was making these bracelets like all day, as I told you. So we hadn't really finished them and we wanted to go into New York City. And we took the wrong transit. I can tell you the right transit to take now, but that's another video entirely. But so we got there around 2 and my daughter wanted to go to FAO Swartz. So we were in FAO Swartz and I was like, I need to make these bracelets. So I set up a table somewhere. They don't really like you doing that in the store, but I did direct them to the beads in the store. I was like, a few people asked me, where can I get beads? I was like, oh, down there. So hopefully FAO Swartz, hopefully it's okay that I was in there making beads. Because I was on the go with all these bracelets, I had a bag to put all the finished bracelets in. And that really helped because when we got to the venue, we were able to take all the completed bracelets out of the bag and then put them on our wrists, as I've told you about before. And then we were able to trade with everybody. Next, we're going to talk about how to exchange these bracelets. And let me tell you a fun story. So someone told us that Z100, we were in their line waiting for their 360 camera. They told us that they would give people shirts if they gave them bracelets. So I was like, okay, I'll go and try. And I went and I gave him a bracelet and he gave me the shirt. And I was like, awesome, this is sweet. So my daughter tries to go up and do it and exchange with him. And I think he was like, oh, I think there's a group of people that now think they can get a shirt. And so he just ended up exchanging with her and everyone else that went up afterwards. I just got lucky because he gave us the shirt. I think he might have been running out of them too. But it was really nice and I am grateful that they gave it to me. But if you're going to give a bracelet to someone, unless you're like exchanging with them, if you're just giving it to some random person, don't expect anything out of them, but I was super grateful that he gave it to me. So we already talked about having the bracelets on the wrists. Make sure the bracelets are on the wrists. When can you trade? So Allegiant, not a lot of people had them, and I will tell you how I gave my bracelets away there later. But at MetLife, we got there and a lot of people were tailgating. So we just walked around the parking lot and we saw people with bracelets and we traded with them. It was a lot of fun. And then we went into line and we were in the line to get in the venue and we were trading with people. And then we got in another line for Capital One and we traded with people in Z100. And by that time, it was almost out of bracelets. It was like 30 or 40 people I had already traded with. But you see bracelets, you just say, hey, you want to trade? And sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. If they're like almost out of them or they don't have a lot, maybe they won't trade, but it never hurts to ask. I was also in line for food and I traded with people and then just people walking around. Don't be afraid to ask. That's the biggest thing. Just don't be afraid to ask because it's a lot of fun. And my daughter, this is what she said about it.
Trading bracelets was super fun because tons of people were really nice and it just brought out the concert in a different way that you wouldn't expect it to be.
The other way you can use these bracelets is just to give them away, like for being nice. So when I was in line for food, I didn't have any bracelets to exchange with people and they talked to me and they were like, oh, your daughter's down there. They each gave me a bracelet to give to her. When I was in the elevator, the person that was helping me, I gave them a bracelet. When I was at Allegiant, because a lot of people weren't trading bracelets, I found people to give them to. Like I gave them to a little girl that was about the same age as my little girl because I missed her and I wish she was there. And then I gave it to some people that had cool outfits. Someone that was pregnant that I saw at the end of the show, someone that was celebrating their birthday. Just found people to give them to that I kind of sparked my attention. And then we had a little conversation and it was fun. One of the coolest things is someone left their contact information on our bracelet and I should have done that because then you can contact the people after the show for the bracelets. There was also someone sitting in front of us and she had a hat on during the show and we were on the floor and we really couldn't see. And I was like, hey, can you take your hat off? My daughter can't see. And she was like, oh yeah. And so she put her hat down and I was so grateful that she did that because she could have said no. And I was like, thank you so much. And so I gave her a bracelet and I thought that was really sweet of her to do that for us. So you can just use these as like kind of a currency to say thank you, like to tip somebody and be like, hey, I appreciate what you did. After the concert, you can display these in a case. I've seen people get a house like at Target to put them in. There was like a little lover house thing that you could put them in. You could also find like a clear case just to put them in. You can wear them around. There are a few that I am going to have to change a little bit, the ones that were hard to put on, so I might re-bead them, and then the ones that didn't stretch at all. So I'll probably, and then that stretched too much. So I'll probably re-bead those ones so that way I can use them again. and then just have fun with these bracelets. I hope this is a tradition that continues at our concerts and hopefully other concerts, because I think this is so much fun. It does take a little bit more work before the concert, but it makes that concert experience a lot more interactive with the people around you, especially since we can't get tickets in big groups. Come on, that's the next thing I want. I want to be able to get a group of tickets, like 10 people, and sit around friends, because now we just have to trade bracelets and make friends with the people that are sitting by us, which works. I hope that clears up some of the questions you have about the bracelets. If you have more, I'm sure there is something I missed. Let me know in the questions below. Will you be trading? Have you traded? What was your favorite bracelet you got? I hope you had fun at the concert. If you didn't get to go to the concert, I hope you can make some bracelets and make them personal to your style and just have fun with it. I hope you guys have a great day. Check out some of my other videos. Make sure to get that worksheet with all the cheats for making the bracelets, and we'll see you in the next video.